It's impossible. Lois could never have Superman's baby. Do you think her fallopian tubes could handle his sperm? I guarantee he blows a load like a shotgun right through the back. What about her womb? Do you think it's strong enough to carry his child? He's an alien, for Christ's sake. His Kryptonian biological makeup is enhanced by Earth's yellow sun. If Lois gets a tan, the kid could kick right through her stomach. Only someone like Wonder Woman has a strong enough uterus to carry his kid. The only way he could bang regular chicks is with a kryptonite condom. That would kill him.
You are now listening to the Mental Reps podcast, dropping fresh science weekly for the masses. Follow us on the Twitter device at Mental Reps Show. Now fade out that fresh ass beat, and let's get this show on the road.
Of sound. We're entering into the void. Oh, shit.
I didn't know there was going to be bed and entering going on in this.
We're going to be entering the bed. All right, guys, this is the Mental Reps podcast. Finally got it going here today. My name's Brian Wright. I'll be your host. I got to my side right here.
Yo, Victor Martinez. You can find me on Twitter at SlickVic954. I did not want to create that, but, you know, that's how it goes sometimes.
It's happening.
I'm Ricardo Gayle. I don't have a Twitter, but soon.
Yeah. Well, this is, I mean, everybody's going to have to bear with us as we kind of iron out the kinks. We've got a lot of things moving and shaking right here. We're going to try and get into the studio next time. Our buddy Jeff here, who's with us, he's our producer, and he's also going to hop on from time to time, Jeff Dawkin.
Check out whatsupdoc.com.
He's also got some tight beats. He's got some tight beats, son.
Producer, artist extraordinaire.
So, honestly, I mean, the more that we do this podcast, the more that we want to try and, like, build a relationship with the audience. Honestly, our objective is just to be, you know, good people. Try and have a comfortable environment where, you know, you're talking with friends, you're sharing info, cultivating relationships, you know, just trying to be better people today than you were yesterday. And we know that it's a constant struggle. Honestly, we'll be talking about current events, but we're not going to have the filter that modern-day media seems to put on that. We're going to be as honest and authentic as humanly possible on this show. We don't want to bring you anything that, I mean, that's something I know when we talked about starting this show, and you guys can talk to this a little bit.
So in other words,
we said that what we wanted to get across is to be completely honest, authentic, and truthful, and share what we find interesting, our perspective on current events. Go ahead, Victor.
Oh, I was just going to say, so in other words, you know, unless Lindsay Lohan discovers curing cancer or anything like that, we're not going to talk about that hoe.
Yeah, dude, we're not going to be sponsored by Monsanto's. Let's put it that way. You know, we're just going to try and bring you the best podcast that we possibly can, and that's going to probably evolve over time, but that's the objective. We all have different backgrounds in broadcasting and film and music and art. So we're just going to try and bring you the best all-around podcast possible.
Let's get it done. Mental Reps, what's up?
Yeah, honestly. Hey, yeah, also, too, you guys can find us at Mental Reps Show on Twitter. Facebook, it's going to be Mental Reps Podcast. And I want to get people emailing the show as much as possible. I know you guys agree. Email us at mentalrepspodcast@gmail.com. And we're going to be hitting that off. We're going to be talking back and forth with you guys a lot. We're going to be talking about current events. We're going to be talking about sports, technology, futurology, philosophy, anything that we deem necessary to be spoken about. So I guess we can pretty much start off. Senator Jeff Clemens has put into act this federal bill, H.R. 499, ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act of 2013.
Wade.
Also, Florida State, where we live in South Florida, Florida State ballot 1250. That's going to be for 2014, trying to get it legalized in the state of Florida.
Even if you don't smoke, it's important to go out and support the bill anyway, because you know you got people getting locked up for stupid shit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different things. That
exactly. It's not just about just the consumption of weed, which is fantastic in and of itself, but it's also about just, you know what I mean, having more freedoms and having less meaningless restrictions, just simply to lock people up away for silly things.
I just want potheads to stop talking about, you know, legalizing pot. So please let this happen so we can shut up.
It's going to happen sooner or later. I mean, I know we've been talking about this forever, and it's madness that it's even still a conversation. But, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, let's legalize weed. We're just going to put stoners out on the street and this and that." And they have a demonized idea of what it is through mass media and government, what they've been taught. And honestly, I know for myself, I didn't try smoking until I was 20 years old, and I had that idea that if you smoke, you're a loser, you're a stoner, you're going to not get anything accomplished in life. But over time, and when you hear actual truths, when you get down to the fundamental things that are making this and keeping this shit illegal, that's when you start running into, okay, maybe I've been lied to. Maybe I need to reevaluate this position that I have on this plant. Okay, because people have been telling us we could go back to William Randolph Hearst in the beginning of why this stuff really got illegalized, because we know that our founding fathers had it, acres of it. They wanted to, Thomas Jefferson pointed out that it was going to be absolutely pertinent that it was going to be involved in our economy, because that was what's going to keep it thriving, this plant.
It's a very, very multi-purpose plant, man. It has a lot of uses, not only just for just smoking recreational purposes, but also like hemp and stuff like that. It also ropes, clothes, all kinds of numerous amounts of applications for the product.
And that's why I really wanted to get into a little bit today, was because I know let's separate the fact that, yes, there is a brother and sister plant here in cannabis. One has psychoactive ingredients that you can get high from. And I think that people should medicinally, recreationally be able to do that. But that's really besides the point. And what I believe to be part of the larger reason why it is actually illegal is the uses of hemp and the war on drugs, and how, we have DEA agents, private prisons, private jails that are profiting off of having people locked up behind bars for this. So, just to go over some of the other uses of the cannabis plant, which honestly, marijuana that came from Reefer Madness and William Randolph Hearst printing in his newspapers that the Mexicans and blacks were coming up from Mexico and raping all the white women high on this marijuana, which is actually...
That part is true. That part is true, actually.
That part. Nick can attest to that. That was true.
That one's true.
But honestly, it's illegal for a lot of different reasons. I just kind of got off of that last idea. Oh, yeah. Basically, the Mexicans were coming up and raping everybody. And marijuana is actually a tobacco. It's a type of Mexican tobacco. It has nothing to do with the cannabis plant. The cannabis plant, you've got the large stalks, the hemp. It looks, if you look at the actual leaf, you can see the similarities between, the weed that you actually are smoking and the stalk of the hemps that we're going to talk about just for a little bit. Hemp is the most, arguably one of, if not the most useful plants on planet Earth. You can use it for food, textiles, plants, fabrics, fuel oil alternatives to gasoline, plastic, petroleum products. It grows quickly, naturally resists diseases. It enriches the soil that it grows in. It requires little weeding. And this stuff yields at least 2 to 3 times as much as trees when it comes to paper. Same thing for cotton.
Isn't some of our most important documents of this country made on hemp paper?
Are the not the Declaration of Independence itself, but the first draft was printed. The American flag was printed on. Actually, the parachute that George Bush, the father, used, the parachute out of, was it the World War II, I believe it was? It was made out of hemp.
There's also hempcretes made from hemp, used to build houses.
Oh,
that's pretty impressive.
Yes, that's another thing I was going to get into, is the industrial uses for it. It replaces wood. You can use it for foundations, walls, shingles, paneling, pipes, paint. Yeah, hempcrete, which is basically an alternative to concrete. It's self-insulating, resistant to pests,
Non-toxic,
lightweight, waterproof, fireproof,
energy efficient.
We can have biodegradable plastics.
See, I can already see the problem with that. It's too good.
This
you
is
can't make a product.
This
that's
is
too
where we're
good.
getting to, in case the audience hasn't already been able to pick up
It's
on
like,
that.
If you make a perfect product, you can't resell it because it'll never break. So
And
I can
because
see.
in the United
problem with
States,
that.
we love to build things that break.
Capitalism.
Oh, that is true. That is so true.
Go ahead.
I mean, just look at just our cell phones in general, period. They are only meant to last for your contract, which is what, no more than 2 years? It's like around it starts getting between that 1 and 2 year mark. They start slowing down, breaking down, or something happens.
Every time you update your iPhone, every time a new iOS comes out for a new version of the iPhone, your home button mysteriously stops working.
Yes. What is up with that? That started happening on my
planned
iPhone
obsolescence.
recently, where I'm trying to press my home button and it doesn't work.
Your
What
home's
the hell
planned
is up with
obsolescence,
that?
man.
Well, I mean, that's the basic nature of it, because that's how the economy is going. You got to build something that breaks down so that there could be a person that could fix it, equipment that could be used to fix, to help assist that person to fix it.
Absolutely.
It's this whole process. You got to buy warranties and things like that, and it goes just far beyond just, you know, just the technology stuff, and it's just basically a lot of things that we build.
Yeah, and there's no other plant that has the ecological friendliness that marijuana does, cannabis does. You can recycle it over and over again. You can use it. It's the only plant on Earth that has all of the essential vitamins that are essential for required by human body. They're like calcium, iron, omega-3.
Wait, what?
Proteins, minerals, dietary fiber. It's
You can't tell me stuff like that, bro.
I'm telling you that. Metabolism, it's good for the skin, for your behavior, the brain, the functioning of the brain and heart. We know omega-3 fatty acids are great for that.
Hold up. Okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to like grasp the whole concept.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah, I'm still trying to grasp the concept of weed having calcium and shit in
Hemp
it.
seeds. Hemp seeds.
Okay, hemp
They're
seeds.
an excellent source of protein, minerals, dietary fiber. The only plant that contains all of the essential fatty acids and amino acids required by the human body.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
And
I'm actually got a little blown away by that one.
yeah, informationdistillery.com/hemp. You can look up this stuff for yourself. Also, due to its high content of beneficial oils and natural properties, it's a good alternative to the toxic chemicals that we have in body care products, like the petroleum-based lotions and cosmetics. I mean, there's a ton of shit in that.
Yeah.
That you know.
It is now painfully obvious why that is not legal.
Yeah. Okay. Body care. We
That's
talked
pretty
about
funny.
paper. It's ideal where it takes trees 30 years or more to become harvestable after planting. 1 acre of hemp will produce at least 2 to 4 times as much paper as the trees in 1/10 of the time. It's ridiculous. Fabrics, textiles, rope. Hemp fabric in China dates back to 8,000 BC, which who knows what these damn dates. You know, that's what they're.
Some high guy typed this shit up.
You know, some high scientists who
China
found
was
some
legalized.
like hemp paper or something. Shoes and jeans. And what's funny is this stuff, it can grow in all 50 states. It enriches the soil it grows in. There's two, and you know, not to also go back to the fuel or the biofuels. Like hemp oil can be used to create biofuels to replace gasoline for diesel engines. Yeah. So unlike fossil fuels, these biofuels are renewable and they produce less of the greenhouse carbon dioxide. So. And let's talk very quickly. This is one of my favorite videos on the internet. Is you can see Henry Ford taking an axe to this. It's not. I know the Model T, the original Model T Ford was the doors and the bumpers. They were made of hemp fibers. But this was like in 1945. And if you guys look it up, you'll be able to see Henry Ford swinging an axe at the back of this panel on this car, and it just bouncing off. And yet, still, they keep this stuff illegal. It's 10 times stronger, 10 times lighter. It's less requirement for repair. But again, we keep on, interjecting these things in our culture that need to be replaced, need to be broken. They are literally manufactured to break.
No, you're exactly right on that point. I mean, that's just like Ricardo was stating earlier. He's beginning to understand a lot more why this is becoming illegal, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, when it has so many beneficial things, obviously this is going to eliminate how many markets now?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's like once you started describing, I was like, man, this is cutting into what? Fuel,
pharmaceuticals, nutrition.
That's another huge thing is pharmaceuticals.
Are you shitting me?
I mean, what is one of the biggest thriving, industries on our planet right now? Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And it's a multi-billion-dollar a year. And by the way, they spend billions of dollars on Congress, on lobbyists to go and fight and keep these things illegal. You have people actively working and invested in keeping this stuff illegal. Like we said, the private jails. And when you get into the DEA and the government, that's a whole other slippery subject because, listen, we could create other things. There are other things that could use policing. There are other things that can be done to, encourage to have a large workforce or a police force. But we don't have to have them pointing their guns and all their attention at people for simple possession charges. And when you really look into, how in-depth this goes, it really is enough to drive you crazy.
No.
Because there's not enough. It's literally comes down to corruption and distribution of money and power.
I mean, if we could just go back to the normal talking points of just even compare it to the things that are legal nowadays. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not going to act as if I don't like drinking or whatever, but me, honestly, I hate the fact that I drink. Just like in a similar sense that you kind of hate.
And how shitty do you feel the next day?
Oh, exactly. There's so many things that go into that I could go ahead and nitpick about the feeling I get the next day, the dumb decisions I definitely make when I'm drunk. And there's plenty of stories that goes along with that just in itself. But
talk about psychedelic properties and how it can affect one's mind and their behavior.
Look, if I'm in a situation where I'm so drunk and the only thing I can think of is I should probably touch the random titties that's in front of me, I'm most likely going to jail for that shit. When most of the time if I'm high and I'm in that same situation, it's like I'm only thinking about how nice those titties are, and I'm imagining touching them at that point. So
there's less aggression, less malicious activity. It seems like it chills people out. Also, it gives you that little slight tweak of perspective where it can help you enhance your thought. Also, the differences between indica and sativa. A lot of people don't know that there are different types of marijuana. How there's the indica, which makes you feel like you want to fall, like basically melt into your couch and just watch Family Guy for the entire night.
I like those.
And I do like those too. And it's good for before sleep, especially people who have insomnia, and it has got certain pain properties to help pain management. But sativa, which is more of the Steve Jobs, Carl Sagan, let's smoke and think of the brand new invention type of weed. That is
change the world,
also,
man.
That's what I really like. That's what a lot of people don't know about. There's two different kinds. So, you can you're not going to drink beer when you feel like drinking wine and so on forth. There's two different
Brian,
kinds.
just don't ask your pot dealer which is which, because they're most likely not going to tell you.
They're probably not going to know.
Yeah, this is the indica sativa.
Indica sativa. And they got some pretty nice hybrids too. I mean, I want to go out to Cali. I can't wait to go out to Cali. Our producer Jeff is planning on heading out to San Fran.
I'm actually heading out there in April for the holiday.
Holiday, yes.
I'm excited for that one.
What holiday would we?
Do I really have? Do I have to be obvious about
Take
this one?
10, multiply it by 2, and that's the date.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm excited for that.
derail.
Too. But I mean, we got the whole Florida ballot coming up soon. Hopefully in 2014, if that happens, we're all going to be voting for it.
Yeah. I'm jealous of Colorado right now. I don't know about you guys. Medicinal and recreational. That's pretty tight, dude. I mean, they seem like they got tight work and smart people working up there too. because they're also.
So what you're saying is it's probably going to fail here in Florida then.
Well, we got a lot of Republicans in Florida.
But the thing is, though, the only thing that worries me is that with the whole like weed culture and how much it's starting to become a lot more mainstream because of my natural distrust of the government, I very much expect them to attach shit to these ballots that we would not like just because they know it'll pass because it has legalization.
Oh, this is if they've done that for 240 years or whatever, they're going to keep doing that.
Exactly.
Which is important that, you guys check out the websites in which the ballots are on so that you guys can be informed because all the information that you need is there. Exactly what Ricardo says. There's a lot of things that we, white people confuse people with the way they word shit, all right? I'm going to just outright and say it. And legislation is the finest example of that. So please, buy a dictionary, a thesaurus, and go ahead and print out some of these.
Use Google.
Yeah, go ahead and check these out, read it. If there's a word that you're confused about, look it up in that thesaurus and dictionary.
Ask a friend.
Exactly.
Trust mainstream media to keep you informed.
Trust me, because they're not. We're probably the best friends you have, and we hate you all.
That's horrible, dude.
Okay, I hate you all, but
that's horrible.
No, but I mean, it is true. It's best to be informed on these sort of things because
Vic is the villain.
I am the villain. But this is the whole point in the whole podcast that we want you guys to help be informed of these sort of things and open up your perspectives on certain things. And
sharing of information and truth.
Exactly.
Get down to the bottom of it. Don't
Exactly.
just listen to what somebody told you.
Exactly. So go ahead, check out the ballots, all the legislation that is being proposed. If you can, try to get together with some of these groups and see if you can volunteer your time as well. Help spread the word as well. This is basically what we're here for. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you guys want to look at it again, that's the federal bill HR 499, ending federal marijuana prohibition act of 2013, and the Florida state ballot of 2014, state bill 1250. And yeah, man, get involved. If you don't want to and you think it's all bullshit, then get involved too. But and we're not trying to either be those people who are telling you what to think.
Exactly.
This is all
if you don't want us to get high, then fight that shit too. We're here to fight.
And honestly, I mean, we didn't get into we can have this conversation for hours. We didn't get into the medicinal benefits. There's so many. We just barely touched on the whole federal and state prisons who are privately owned and making tons of money off this. Look it up. Get informed. And you know what? If anything, that'll make you less susceptible to bullshit that somebody's going to tell you tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And you can say, you know what? I got some facts behind that. And this is to not be, gullible and misled by stupid people. Because Mark Twain has a great quote, and one of my favorites is, don't waste your time arguing with stupid people because they'll bring you down to their level and beat you with experience. And that's something that we all have to fight with every day.
I mean, it's not necessarily stupid people. Just either people that are going to be against it for whatever reasons that they have, or there's always it's not just stupidity that we're fighting. It's
it doesn't. Stupidity doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people. Yeah. They're just ill-informed, or they're working off of old information.
And unwilling to accept the new.
Yes, exactly.
Open those minds up, son.
Yeah. All right, so we got that popping off, which is cool. I mean, it's nice to see that it seems like the majority of people and their voice, and honestly, internet's going to continue to evolve and change the way that we make decisions in this country. But it's cool to hear that majority of people think that this stuff needs to be legalized, and obviously they're fighting it, but we're going to keep at it and see what happens from it. All right, so we got that popping off. Syria is being accused of using chemical weapons. That's cool. On the rebels in the past 2 years.
Cool wouldn't exactly be the word I'd use. But
not especially if you're not a Syrian rebel. That's just not cool at all.
That's not, yeah. This is a very confusing topic to me, and which I would like to actually hear somebody who has somebody who's not so jaded and just they're not going to do anything right.
Well, I mean, isn't this just going along with the whole, we're trying to get the Middle East to be on whatever side it is that they need to be on? Isn't that? I mean, honestly, I don't really know too much about the Middle East either. But at the same time, though, there seems to be this weird trend going on that apparently the places that need democracy are either getting it from us or, being incited by the people within them.
And they happen to be like the world's largest distributor or manufacturer, or they have the largest countries. Acreage of poppy fields or lithium. Why aren't we in Syria right now? Why aren't we getting involved more in Bahrain? Why is it that these countries like Afghanistan and Iraq are getting all the attention?
I mean, I thought I read somewhere one time that there was certain that some of these countries actually didn't have a central bank backed by I think it's the IMF or something like that. I'm just talking shit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you guys are gonna want to look up some of this stuff too, along with what we're saying.
Definitely. But I mean, this is one of those things that we're definitely, I think, touched upon in the previous topic. Is there are things that these people are not telling us about, and things are going down. Mm-hmm. Things are definitely going down, and we're just ill-informed of it because they either don't want to tell us, or we as a people are just either too lazy or too uninformed to go out of our way.
Though, but you also have to consider what would you do with that information? How would you, as a citizen of the United States, help someone?
And if they want to keep you being a consumer, and they want you to keep on going through life with no worry, I mean, that's going to affect, if you are hearing these things and you actually heard some of these truths, it might influence you to stop doing the things that you're doing, which is, it could be being that American consumer, and they don't want that.
Whoever has an opinion out there would you're more than welcome to go ahead and hit us up on the Twitter, on the website, on Facebook. Yeah. Go ahead and respond to any of these sort of things. If you have something that you want to contribute to, we're not able to do that now.
Yeah, that's the thing, and
But it'll definitely help us out in the if there's anybody out there that could go ahead and inform us, and anything in detail, or maybe just give out an opinion. Whether informed or not, it's good to hear from people,
Yeah, exactly.
So we're just as clueless about this kind of shit. We're just putting it out there because this is what we found. And
this is our take on it. And email us at mentalrepspodcast@gmail.com. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world. I mean, there's too much to talk about. And honestly, it's really, really discouraging. Something that Joe Rogan says on his podcast, which is I'm not going to be afraid to bring that up. If you guys want to listen to that, he's a great podcast, Joe Rogan Experience.
Fuck Joe Rogan.
But he says there's nothing scarier than being too stupid to realize who's telling you the truth. And when we're all sitting around talking about Syria and chemical weapons. Are we experts on Syria or chemical weapons, or do we know necessarily how everything in this situation works? No.
I just know that I don't want to get hit with a chemical weapon. That's all I know.
And you can apply, just general wisdom or experience or knowledge or just some sort of common sense to a situation where if that BS alert, that BS meter goes up, that you're like, no, that doesn't sound right. We got a couple other things going on. I know Vic was talking about this earlier. The Republic of Congo and the rebel army has seized the capital city and outed its president in another coup against the government.
Yeah, it's just another coup going on. I always find it interesting that governments are getting thrown over. World leaders have been taken out of their positions. It's not just in Congo. A few years ago, it happened, I think, in Honduras, where the president was ousted and exiled. And when I turn on the news, I don't hear any of this going on. What I do hear, I think during that time,
you hear about Michelle Obama's bangs and whether Beyonce actually sang or not at the inaugural ball.
Like I remember during the time where when the coup was happening out in Honduras, the major thing going on in the news, I think some celebrity died, and it was just like, really, freaking world leaders are getting ousted by their armies. They're freaking being taken from their posts that people had elected them to be in.
Entire revolution.
Go check out Amber Lyon on Twitter. If you guys out there, go check out Amber Lyon. She's an old CNN correspondent who left because they pretty much told her that she wasn't able to cover these stories or talk about these real world events that were going on. She started her own pretty much broadcasting or news network. And I think that's pretty cool what she's trying to do out there. This major just kind of finished up the last couple of current events that we got here, and we can roll on. the major critic of Russian government and President Vladimir Putin, Boris Berezovsky, is found dead in his home. Yeah, that was probably on accident, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. I mean, ex-billionaire getting killed in his house, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
seems plausible. I mean, he could have slipped and shot himself accidentally with the gun he keeps in his...
Is Russia still considered a superpower? I haven't been brushed up on Russia since the Cold
actually,
War.
Vladimir Putin is considered a superpower, so I think they sort of...
Oh, I know he's like a super villain. He's like the closest thing to a Doctor Doom we have.
When you look at him, dude, he does look like a villain, dude. He really does.
Well, I mean, not only that he looks like one. Freaking, I heard, what is he? He's a world class.
Yeah, like he like
martial artist.
Invented his own style of judo, and he's like a world star, like judo master and shit.
Like if Obama had a fist fight this guy, Obama's getting wrecked, son.
Absolutely not,
dude. Let's have like what that old MTV show where they had like the celebrity death match. That'd be tight. Putin versus Obama.
Wouldn't stand a chance.
No.
Wouldn't stand a chance. You need like 3 Obamas with weapons against an unarmed Putin to even have an even match.
Unless, you know...
What if Obama broke out some, like, crazy Afro samurai shit?
Yeah.
Nah.
Vladimir Putin's still like the...
Probably
dude.
not.
Probably not.
Dude, he's like the leader of his own KGB, dude.
I think Obama has to go through like a Rocky 4S type of training going on, where he's up in the snow in the mountains and everything.
Like, what if he had like Samuel L. Jackson and like Carl Weathers in his corner, just like cheering him on? I think they'd be able to. No.
Throw in like Ali in his prime in his corner, or old Ali as the coach, and then you might have a somewhat good match.
All right. North Korea continues to threaten South Korea and the U.S. Speculation that they're behind cyber attacks, paralyzing multiple major South Korean banks and 2 major television broadcasters. These motherfuckers.
They're not playing jokes, son. They really trying to start some shit up, it seems.
But they seem like that little dirt bag that's on the playground that is just like 3 foot nothing, who just thinks that they're like a little badass, like they're gonna tear everybody up, but they don't actually end up doing anything.
Yeah, but if they continue to annoy you, though, I mean,
then you gotta
just start doing some shit about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the U.S. is already doing military training and exercises over there in South Korea right now, and that's pissing off North Korea even more. And I think actually an interesting thing that I think Jeff mentioned a while back when me and him were discussing about this. I think he brings up a good point. Is that what if the U.S. really does nothing? What if it's China that ends up doing something about it? Yeah, like what if China, like, and Jeff pointed this out the other day, is what if China wanted to be like, look, we got this side of the hemisphere. You guys can go ahead and chill out. We'll try to handle North Korea. You know, all the warnings that China has been trying to do. I mean, even they backed up the current sanctions that we put in from the UN. They're backing that up, which is usually something they don't do. But, you know, it is something to speculate about. What if China decides to do something? What if, you know, they drop the big bomb on them or invade, you know, North Korea and be like, stop messing with things going on. It's like, you're making us look bad. We're backing you up. You know?
Well, this is the thing that when you get into all these, like, world events, I mean, we're so caught up in our U.S., like, United States perspective on, like, the goings-on in the world. But there's so many other things at play. Something just really quickly before we move on that I wanted to bring up was the idea that, you know, a friend of mine brought this up to me a couple days ago, and basically stating that, you know, a lot of people bring up, oh, well, we're in Iraq because of the oil. We're in Afghanistan because of, you know, the poppy fields and the lithium. But I watched this really interesting. It was like the first part to like a 5-part documentary on YouTube about how Gaddafi was trying to create his own golden currency. And I believe it was either Nixon, I think it was Nixon, who basically brokered a deal to where all of the oil, the world's oil, would be traded on the U.S. dollar. And we are about to come to the end of that contract. And we've been also fighting to keep that going in a lot of other forms rather than just, you know, a lot of other logistics. But if we are unable to continue trading oil on U.S. dollar, that shit is going to tank. And Gaddafi basically was trying to set up this currency where all of their oil was going to be traded off this gold, like this Gaddafi, and it had like a a print on it and everything. There's a lot of other stuff going on here. Again, we're too stupid to completely figure it out, but you should research it and check it out because there's so many things at play here.
Do you think that also goes hand in hand? Because I know Ron Paul, if anybody doesn't know Ron Paul, he was trying to be a Republican presidential nomination in the last election, which that's another topic I can go into. But
that guy should be on those.
Yeah, but one of the things that he was trying to preach is trying to switch the U.S. into the gold standard. So I wonder if that has anything to do with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, anybody out there that has any information that would like to contribute are more than welcome to. We will try to bring this up again, whenever we can.
Yeah,
so
definitely. All right, well, you know what? I think that every week it's going to be fighting to there's so much stuff to talk about, but we're going to try and move on. We'll see. We're not going to try and cut you off from anything if we're talking about something cool, but let's move on a little bit right now just to keep it flowing. Science stuff that we really wanted to get across to you guys, and something that we find cool is there is so much going on in the science community. It's not given enough focus in our mainstream media and really in our education system either. There's something that I really like that I go online and see these This Week in Science and new things that are happening. Something that we were just going over was the microbial life that's been discovered 7 miles below sea level, the Mariana Trench, where our buddy James Cameron went to go visit a couple months ago. I know he was down there in that little one-man sub.
Yeah, microbial life is ridiculous. They can survive anything.
Seriously, man, and they say that we know more about the surface of Mars than we do our own ocean floor. We have only 2% is actually mapped out of our ocean floor. So there's a lot of stuff going on below sea level that we have no clue.
Crazy looking fish and everything,
and krakens.
And did you guys have?
One of the things going along with being at the bottom of the seaboard. I mean, we were also going to discuss it eventually, but it was that. It was the old skeleton of the whale that was found.
The Antarctic whale skeleton.
Yeah, I mean that was found on the bottom of the seafloor as well.
And those bad boys can chill down there for damn near a year or two and just be like a feeding frenzy to all the little dudes that are living down there.
Well, that was the funny thing on the discovery of this. For one, it's only 1 out of 6 skeletons ever discovered for a whale, which I think is actually kind of mind-blowing.
Didn't they show? I know they showed one of them on Planet Earth where they showed the crabs kind of crawling all over them. At least I don't know if that's one of the 6.
I don't know. I really don't know that either. Anyway. But at the same time, to me, for as much as we spend on marine biology and everything, we've only found 6
especially
skeletons.
With the size of them. Too.
Yeah,
how do you?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but I mean, along with finding that one skeleton recently, they discovered 9 different other organisms feeding off of it. Which is pretty crazy in itself. It's it goes hand in hand with they find microbial life that far down sea level, but even probably just a little bit above it, there's still undiscovered organisms and animals feeding off these sort of things that haven't been discovered either.
Yeah,
so that's pretty crazy.
And they're really close to the center of the Earth, closer to the center of the Earth than any other thing that we have discovered. So that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I think that's just limited by our technology, though, and I think a lot of bit of our focus. But we just don't really have the technology to, at least as widely available, to make those sort of really deep sea trips with worrying about the pressure and stuff like that, man. It's very hard to do that, especially with multiple people.
Yeah, you gotta have some onions to go down one of those one-man subs, bro. That is a trip that I'd have to think long and hard whether I'd be willing to take.
But
if I trust the equipment,
he has exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Okay,
he has the money to be I can trust this equipment.
Yeah, but James Cameron's ridiculous. He's also talking about mining an asteroid too. I mean, that's
James Cameron, go check out a really cool TED Talk about that. There's this guy who talks about that, about how we'd be able to pull these asteroids into our orbit and mine them.
Dude, that would be
trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of shit that they could mine.
Because we don't want asteroids falling on our friggin' Earth, which is already happening.
But I mean, dude, that's
you'll be all right.
That's intense,
man. Come on.
Oh yeah, let me see the atmosphere stop a rock. Giant speeding rock.
Dude, that's traveling 130,000 miles an hour. We're just gonna grab you, dog. We're gonna lasso you.
no risk, no reward.
That's another thing that kind of pisses me off too. That's not being spoken about. We got all these asteroids and like meteorites coming so close to us. Some of us actually hitting. Like Russia hit like about a month ago.
And Vladimir Putin.
By the way,
so
you gotta see that funny video of the guy who just puts his son. He's driving in his car, and you know, in Russia they've got all these people. They run out in front of the cars. They got the dash cams because people are trying to sue people and run out in front of their cars. So they got this dash cam, and this guy's got one pointed at him too. And you see the light of the asteroid like illuminate the sky, and he just takes his sun like blocker and casually puts it down and keeps driving. I'm like, damn, these Russians are hardcore.
He's like, it's just a meteor, dude.
He's like, whatever, it's just a meteor. He kept driving. Dude, yeah, go check that out.
It's not craziest thing I've seen.
But yeah, man, there's some shit popping off, and I you know, we're gonna probably spend a whole other podcast so we can get into things like geoengineering and the hubris involved in that. And I don't know. I think that there's some shit popping off that we might not be privy to the actual information. Well, I mean, I'm talking about specifically with our weather and the health of this planet.
And the solar flares and all that other nonsense.
Solar flares, dude. Ooh. Do you realize what we would have to do, what we would be, how fucked we would be if we couldn't go to the bank to like take money out of the bank? We didn't have gas to drive our car to the grocery store that had food where we buy our food. If we actually had to
all
go
of those luxuries for like 9 years, so
dude, how do you go back to being hunters and gatherers?
Well, that's stuff like that, man. If we're forced to do it, we're going to do it. We have no choice. So as we are in our situation in our current, we live. Most people in the state, well, not most, but we live in sort of like a base state of luxury, and not necessarily luxury, but convenience. We live in a certain state of convenience. So there's absolutely no way, while we're in this state of mind of convenience, that we could ever go to a hunter-gatherer type situation. We would have to have all those conveniences completely removed, and once those conveniences are removed, we'd have no problem adapting or dying. That's just how it should work.
Either or.
Yeah, exactly.
Either.
So it's like, it's as we are now, it's hard to imagine simply because we have all the amenities there to distract us from that.
And I hate to be that guy, but I think we could lose a few billion people and be I think that actually like eventually is. I mean, I would hate to be. I'm not saying I need to be making a decision on who stays and goes. That's something way above me. I'm just saying that we need. There's a genuine issue with overpopulation on this planet, and whether we have the resources to sustain it.
Just remember, everybody, Brian said that he supports mass genocide. Mass genocide is okay with Brian.
Let's have a conversation about eugenics.
But no, man, I think if we apply our technology in the right direction, we could definitely accomplish that thing. It's just,
well,
I don't believe that's
question.
the primary focus of those who have the resources to accomplish things of that nature. Look,
okay. If I could survive 2 weeks in El Salvador, I think we could all be okay if we got rid of shit. I mean, trust me. I mean, if I had to stay in El Salvador for an extended period of time, which is where my family's from, shout out to the Guanacos out there. But, you know, trust me, it's doable. I mean, I only think the only people that are really going to lose are like the super obese Americans that really couldn't like survive without television and things like that. Oh man, those guys, fuck those guys. But
riding their electronic wheelchairs to the McDonald's drive-in.
Yeah. I actually saw a wheelchair at a Checkers.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I did.
I saw that.
I took a picture of it and everything. I tossed it up on the.
Yeah, man, that's dedication, bro.
Yeah, dude, it really is. All right, so we got what's plankton? These plankton are absorbing more CO2 than first studied.
I've started to realize how much for the marine life thing we got going on in the science section today.
Yeah,
it's all good.
We're gonna be ironing this shit out.
Hey man, only 2% of it's been discovered.
But
so
you know, I
just
get
as much of that 2% out there.
Yeah, and plankton is part of that 98%. Prehistoric whales. Oh, yeah, we already talked about that. The prehistoric whales, the deformities, and the skulls discovered in prehistoric humans. Oh yeah, the inbreeding in the common practice.
It is time for the inbreeding section of the show.
I love it.
Oh my God! So maybe we should refer to some of our listeners in Alabama or Kentucky about this, or Mississippi.
We have listeners.
Yeah, dude.
Eventually.
Yeah, man. I don't know. You guys are gonna have to shed some light on that for me
Well, I mean,
because
I
I'm
just-
not
I
really
just-
familiar with the topic.
I just say it's just kind of an interesting thing I just kind of found there. It's like they find deformities in skull and they attribute it to inbreeding. And so apparently it's like all the craze back in the day.
Well,
And somebody-
when you look at it, the only reason why inbreeding doesn't exist is social construct. So before we develop the brain function to be like, you shouldn't fuck your sister because you're going to be
I
deformity.
don't think it's just social construct. I think after a while when they started realizing, shit, we keep fucking our family and we keep coming up with web feet and
Exactly.
diseases. So there might be something to do with that.
Oh, Genghis
Genghis
Khan. Thank you, Jeff, for that. Dude, talking about the baddest motherfucker on the planet
The baddest
ever.
inbreeder alive, dog.
Speaking of copulation,
Dead or
Dude,
alive.
seriously. That guy was a bad dude. Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Genghis Khan, Dan Carlin has a really cool podcast. It's Dan Carlin's History, and he goes over the whole Genghis Khan saga. It's really, really cool. You guys should check that out. Also, another thing I was going to tell you guys.
Anybody that gets their own Pokemon named after them is
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
good.
And we're going to talk about this a little bit more next week and get into some futurology stuff. But go check out Elon Musk, Elon Musk, ELONMUSK. He's
why
the founder
should we check
of,
him out, Brian?
He's the founder of Tesla Motors and PayPal, and he talks about future innovations.
Oh, snap.
Yeah,
So
dude,
is
check
he
it out. It's
creating me a
really,
jetpack?
really cool. This
No,
guy's
but-
talking about legitimately going to Mars, space exploration, carbon emissions in our vehicles. This guy's the guy behind Tesla, and he's a smart dude. Check it out.
He's got one of the electric cars on the market already, right? The
Yeah,
really
Tesla.
super expensive one, the $50,000 one?
Yeah,
Tesla
well, he's got
Roadster?
one that's, I believe, that
Well, he has
they've
the
got it-
Roadster. That was the original.
It's about 100,000 right now, and then they're trying to come out with a second one that's going to be around 50 to 60, and then there's going to be a third one which is going to be for mass distribution, which will be around 30 to 35.
Yeah, the $50,000 one is typically just a luxury sedan. It just drives really, really fast, and obviously it's run by electricity for the most part. But I think the litmus test they're trying to do with that is they're trying to see how much of these they could sell out to,
Normal
the
people.
well, not normal people, because the normal people one would be the one that would come after this.
Okay, gotcha.
I think he's just trying to experiment, try to come up. Obviously, the Roadster, what'd you say, $100,000 was that
Yeah,
car?
I think it's like 100 grand right now.
Okay, so I think he's trying to tap into the mid-luxury sedan, whatever, part of that market, where he's just trying to sell it to rich people and see how many of these people buy it, and if there is enough of it, then he'll be able to mass produce a
He's testing the product on a grand scale, like a bigger
so,
market.
Exactly. So you can produce like a 30,000 more affordable for everybody kind of car, to compete with like the Camrys and the Accords and things of that, the cars of that vein. But he's trying out the $50,000 one, see how much of that one goes out. So if you're rich as heck and you want an electric car, try to check that one out and see.
Does it look good?
It looks actually really
looks-
sweet.
yeah,
I mean,
dude,
I
it
don't
actually
know.
looks
I
real
forget
tight.
the name of the actual car, but
Yeah.
I mean, if Jeff wants to pull up the picture real quick, I mean, just so Ricardo can get an idea how it looks. It actually looks pretty sweet. We'll have the picture of the car sometime in our Twitter,
we'll
Facebook.
post
all
it
that.
on. We'll post we'll post that. Also, the link to the TED Talk. I'm gonna post that. A couple pictures of that Tesla, and find
I
out
think
more
that's it,
about
too,
that
yeah.
guy. Super,
guys.
super interesting dude.
Hey, Jeff,
if
is
you're
this
interested
Google
on the
billionaire-
goings on of the future, potential
Google
goings on of the
billionaire.
future. Google billionaires. James Cameron backing space resource venture.
I think James Cameron wants to go to space.
That's
Again.
another article. I mean, I was looking at last week where they're trying to pick a couple to go to Mars. It's a 501-day trip supposedly, and dude, I think more amazing than the idea of people getting to Mars would be if a couple would be able to survive that trip without killing themselves. 501 days.
Killing
That's a-
themselves or killing each other? 'Cause
Killing
that's-
each other.
Complete isolation.
Yeah, dude, my bad.
You
Killing
wanna
each
test-
other. Honestly, dude, I think that's, first of all, it's really cool that we're even having a conversation about that. But, I don't know. I think that we've come so far as technology. I still am we haven't gone to Mars, and how long has it been? I mean, to the moon, actually stepped on the moon. It's been like 30 years, 35 years since
We've never been on
actually
the moon, Brian.
and some people would actually agree with you there. Yeah, I don't know.
Never
I think
agree with me. I'm not serious about anything.
yeah. But yeah, dude, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's cool that we're even having the conversation.
The only thing with me and is like the only reason why I wouldn't want to go to Mars is because I can't breathe there, and I wouldn't want to be in a fucking suit the entire time over there. It'd be uncomfortable. I want to chill.
Yeah, the issue would be claustrophobia for me, like sitting inside of a spaceship box for a year and a half.
Come on, Brian. You know it's gonna be like the movies where you have an entire space station with like hallways and fucking.
No, dude, that's the thing is I don't think that it's gonna be that big. What they were proposing was it's gonna be like a tiny little thing, like the missions to the International Space Station. Huh?
I was being facetious.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Shit, I thought you were actually talking like it was gonna be like that movie Sunshine.
I've never seen that movie.
Oh, dude, it's really cool.
No.
You guys should check that out.
Why are we whispering?
I don't know. Yeah, so check that shit out.
I don't know. The only thing about space exploration that I care about is whether we find a better player in the galaxy than LeBron James, because I don't think there is. I don't think there is.
Dude, you took yes, I like that, Vic. Nice transition
Thank
over
you.
to our sports. This is something I'm going to get super excited for every week because I actually, am involved in covering some of these sports and these teams. But the Heat. And
they're going for 26.
Going for 26 tonight, dude, against the Charlotte Bobcats. LeBron James is the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
He's the greatest player in the galaxy.
From Genghis Khan. Dude, I don't know. I'm sure that some of you guys watched the game from the Celtics the other night, which is when we got 24 and we got the Cavaliers at 25. Actually, no, I take that back. It was 23-24, and we had another game versus Detroit last night.
Which I think was also another close game, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. And the thing is what's crazy is you're getting everybody's best game. Like, something that deserves to be talked about, and Bill Simmons brought this up over the week, who's a sports guy, if you guys haven't heard of him. He brought up a really good point in the fact that we are going for 26 wins right here. The Lakers did it in the middle, the mid to late 70s. And there was just 9 years before that, there was only 9 teams in the league. Then there was about 17 teams in the league, 1976. And they also had the ABA, which took away a lot of the NBA players, and it was a really diluted league. And they got 33 in a row. We are flirting with 26 tonight. We've already got 25. This league is not diluted at all. You've got every single one, maybe 25. Arguably, all 30 of these teams can pose a threat to a championship caliber team like the Heat any night.
Despite popular belief, but yeah.
Despite popular belief, a lot of people, they're going to destroy. Watch the games, dude. Cavaliers and the Milwaukee Bucks and Minnesota Timberwolves are putting up really good numbers in games against these guys. They're pumped up. They want to be able to be the ones that are going to knock them off.
It is the thing that we keep saying all the time. I mean, this is a league that is now full of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant influence. You know what I'm saying? We got a bunch of mini guys like that. And now we got finally somebody to come up from that bar that was set by those two greats, with LeBron James. He is the one that's coming up from the ashes and, freaking showing everybody what the next level of basketball is going to be. Until basically, we're going to be talking about 15 years from now where it's going to be a league full of LeBrons.
Yeah, a bunch of dudes who are 6'8", 270. And playing guarding all positions on the court and running the point. Yeah, man, it's crazy. He's unreal, dude. He's playing out of his mind. I mean, to be able to have the last year that he had, NBA champ, league MVP, finals MVP, gold medalist at the Olympics.
With the league that is competitive as it is now. And like I said, a lot of people want to go ahead and say, oh, well, because the Big Three came to the Heat, now these teams are just a bunch of teams with,
they don't know league history, bro.
Against a bunch of no, that is not how it is. I mean, for teams like the Memphis Grizzlies to make it to the playoffs back to back, who else do we got? There's a bunch of teams out there that are still really competitive and really actually shocking people to a certain extent. Like I said, like the Memphis Grizzlies for a while, or.
No, I was just saying talk closer to the mic. My bad, dog.
I was like, damn, you're throwing me off.
No, my bad.
No, but, there's a bunch of the smaller market teams that are actually really competitive with a lot of young good players. There's actually another winning streak going along that not too many people are talking about, and that's the Denver Nuggets. What are they on, a 14, 15-game winning streak right now? And it's a team full of really young, athletic players.
They ain't shit.
Oh, when you watch them play, they're something special, bro. They're actually really cool.
These guys are all NBA players. People don't realize. I mean, to get to the NBA, I mean, there's a lot of dudes who play basketball really, really well, but these professional level basketball, these athletes, dude, they're no joke. So you can have a guy who's on the bench in Minnesota who is going to tear a new one to anybody in a gym who thinks they're a badass, or some dude who, listen, dude, these guys are no joke, and they can play ball, and they're putting up really good games against this team. They're not like trying to be that another team that they're gonna, in this 27 win row.
Think of it on a level as this. If you go to a park and you play basketball on a consistent basis, and there's like a group of guys that play with each other and they play great, what are you gonna do when you start facing them? You're going to try to give them the best game you have.
Absolutely.
Every single time. And people have a tendency to, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh should be able to easily. No. Not when you got a bunch of people with chips on their shoulders wanting to prove. There's going to, like I said, to me, I don't think they're going to get to 33. I'm a big, huge Heat fan. I would love for them to beat the record. I honestly don't. I think it's probably going to stop between, around. Between
the Spurs and the Spurs are going to be a nice test, and so is Chicago.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose around 27-28, which is still really highly impressive, especially in this day and age of basketball. But it's just one of those things. It's people are going to bring their A game every single time, and that streak is going to be in jeopardy no matter which team it is that they're going to be facing.
Every
coming
team
up.
in the league is clamoring to dethrone them right
now.
Heck every single one.
Imagine if you were on that team who was about to play LeBron and D-Wade tonight, and you're like, yo, dude, they're going for 27. Can you imagine if we were the team to knock this team off, dude?
Fuck that. I don't want to be number 27.
And the fact that they are playing at a level to combat that from all these teams that they've beaten in a row. I mean, they are playing at such an insane level right now that you could really see that they've learned a lot from, their past mistakes over the last couple of years. Something that I really am confident in this team is that they learn from their mistakes. It's something that you can't always say about all these teams. They really do learn from their mistakes. If they do something, they make a mistake, they'll come back at it. And that's something I've always admired about LeBron. And we talked about that a couple of days ago, where he's the best player in the league, but every single offseason he's working on that one thing in his game that he needs to work on. 2 years ago, it was his post-up game. He went and worked with Akeem Olajuwon for 2 months straight, working on nothing but his post-up game. This whole offseason, before every single game during the season, he's doing three-point shoot-around with all the three-point shooters, leveling up on his long-range shot. He doesn't just say, oh, dude, I'm the best player in the league, and I play pretty good defense. I'm just going to play and see and hope. That's not the way he plays. He's like, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to prove to everybody. It's a whole other level and standard to live up to, which I don't think that people talk enough about with this guy, how somehow he's navigated this world this whole whirlwind of criticism and the spotlight on him more than any other athlete in U.S. history. To be able to come out of that pretty squeaky clean, to not have any major, I beat the shit out of my wife, or I do a few lines off of a hooker's ass or something.
Too soon, Brian.
I know, I'm just saying, dude, he's 27, 28 years old, and he's the best player in the league, in the world, and somehow he's come out of it unscathed in a really classy way. What's the one thing everybody bitch about? The decision. The whole decision.
That was the dumbest thing to get mad about.
Come on, dude. You know what happened? Is ESPN came to him asking whether they could do coverage of it. He said, okay, as long as whatever it is, it gets sent to the Boys and Girls Club, the Profits.
Yeah.
ESPN produced that whole hour-long spectacle around him. They had Jim Gray come out there and ask the question. They called it the decision. That was all ESPN. The worst thing that came out of that was a $2 million contribution to the Girls and Boys Club or whatever. Those are the type of things that people get upset about with this guy. And I don't know, man. Sorry, Vic, if I cut you off.
No, you basically hit it on the head on that one. The only thing is, it was a little. I think it was a little unfair that LeBron got, put in that situation, even though he did it himself too. But hey, that's usually the scrutiny that's going to happen with great players. You know what I'm saying? People are going to find something to hate on you. They're going to find something to
People
go ahead and
hated Jordan.
Yeah, exactly.
And he had gambling issues and womanizing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
shit.
Michael Jordan, as much as I loved him, as a basketball player, that guy's a douchebag.
And did you see his Hall of Fame speech, man?
Oh, yeah. He was he was just talking shit the whole time. He was like, I remember whooping your ass. Yeah. Your ass.
Dude, he's just kind of a douche.
That's pretty good.
Like, to me, I can't see LeBron James actually doing that at all. He actually seems like a genuinely good guy.
And I love that he's like, challenging those, perceptions of what we believe basketball players should be, like Kobe, that killer instinct, eye of the tiger. It's no games. I'm here to win, and unless you are doing everything in your power, then fuck you. I want you off my team. LeBron actually looks like he's albeit he's in a perfect place to be enjoying himself playing football with the people he's got around him.
Basketball.
But did I play football? Did I say football? When he's playing basketball, he's got Pat Riley, all these amazing players around him, Mickey Arison, a great owner. So he's having fun. But even before that, when he was with the Cavs, something that he's always said is he wants to have fun. And that's something that, he's proven that you can maintain that while having that killer instinct, while being able to do all those things that you need to do in order to win games. He's proven that. And I honestly, if you're still hating on LeBron James at this point, then I really don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. I mean, there's too much evidence. There's too many things that go against what you're saying, I just respect the shit out of this guy.
LeBron James,
just because of the player he is, but the dude he is.
LeBron James is the greatest player in the galaxy. That's all I have to say about that. He's the greatest player in the galaxy. He is. Fuck Kobe.
All right, dude. Now we got our little homerisms out of the way. That's cool. But yeah, dude, not to kind of have a shitty transition here, but to move on to something different. First time ever in the history of the Winter X Games or any X Games whatsoever, this dude died. Caleb Moore. And in January on the snowmobiler, he was a snowmobiler, and he died. I guess we pulled up the picture before. Yeah, they don't have the video, but it's like right before the snowmobile lands on him. It's pretty brutal stuff.
Yeah, that is such a crazy sport. Anybody that goes into the X Games, I'm gonna have to give you the most props because, especially in those types of events where you're using heavy machinery as part of your event. I mean, I have my criticisms about NASCAR and things like that, but for some reason I have a lot more respect for people that are on these motorbikes or snowmobiles and pulling off some crazy, insane stunts. I mean, this is so for there to be a casualty. I mean, for one, I think this is actually pretty impressive that they didn't have a casualty until like this long. I mean, but it's still really tragic. It's still really tragic that this happened, and I hope that because I really actually do enjoy the X Games. I think it's a great alternative sport. There's a lot of up-and-coming sports, but this is one of those that have started to, put itself in position to be a little more mainstream than usual. And it's kind of sad when you see things like this, because you hope that it doesn't sully the momentum that is being gained for these type of events.
You want people to overreact to it just to appease the PR.
Exactly. I mean, it's been well over a decade that the Winter X Games have been around, and just because there's one casualty from the snowmobile thing, I think that they should definitely take greater measures and making sure that this doesn't happen again. But they shouldn't nerf it up to such a point that
these guys know what they signed up for.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like the whole same argument with the NFL, and it's just these guys signed up for this thing. They know what the risks are, and for the most part, they're going to get a lot of benefits from it. Despite the other thing, the negativity attached to it.
And also, I mean, you can train, but you simply can't control all the variables.
No, you can't.
Shit happens.
Absolutely.
So while it is important to make sure that all of your safety precautions and things like that are in place, you really can't beat it to death with rules too much because you can never account for everything.
No, because look what's happening in the NFL right now because of it. It's suffering, and people are look. For the past, I think maybe no more than 4 or 5 years, all of a sudden the passing stats have been skyrocketing through the roof.
Yeah,
Dan Marino's poor record.
We can have a whole podcast about that, dude. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
Dan Marino's almost all of Dan Marino's records are being are in jeopardy because of the way that they have manipulated the rules. Yeah, they manipulated the rules to such an extent that now it's mostly a passing league. And when you get basically, what was it, last year or 2 years ago, where 4 quarterbacks that went over 4,000 yards passing?
Yeah.
That's astronomical, son. I mean, our mind was blown when Rich Gannon did it during the Oakland Raiders Super Bowl year.
Yeah.
And so now that we got more and more quarterbacks doing it, it's not because I think quarterbacks are getting better or anything. It's exactly that. The NFL is manipulating the rules. And
honestly, I mean, if you look at it from like, a certain perspective, they have to do it to a certain degree as far as, okay, think about it this way. AFC Championship 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, opening play, a dude dies on the field.
Damn.
Imagine if that happened, though. And because it's not just like something where X Games or MMA where maybe it could fly under the radar. It's something that so many people's eyes are on. So, and something that they actually changed a rule with now for people who are carrying the ball is that they can't use their helmet as a spear.
Yeah,
they cannot spear people with their helmet. Something that they're going to. I'm curious to see how that works.
That is going to be so weird because
it's going to be tough, man, for runners, ball runners.
Oh yeah, especially for a running back. I mean, their whole lives they've been taught to lower their shoulder once a defender comes at them. You know what I mean? And I get it. They're trying to protect their head and neck and all that other nonsense, but it's just. It's exactly what we're saying. They signed up for this. So when you're telling them something that already is like ingrained in their heads since like pee-wee football, high school football, to all of a sudden just change on such a whim.
But the problem is that they are stronger. The athletes now, they need to be protected from themselves one way or another. Because if you allow them to just continue to get bigger, stronger, and faster and use the equipment that feels comfortable for them or whatever, and they are only worried about the pain that they're inflicting on the other person, not the opposite or vice versa, you have to somehow protect them from themselves one way or another. And it's hard. How do you ride that line of not changing the sport, not making it some flag football, like something that you're
But that's the thing, though. It's like they got to figure these things out. But and I'm not so sure that the owners always have that in mind. I feel like they're just looking at the facts and figures and the numbers of it all.
Just like with baseball, with steroids, they knew what was going on for a long, long time. But if they're not going to try and negatively affect their brand, hitting home runs is good for the baseball. Big hits is good for football. So how do you manage it? It's an interesting topic.
Yeah, and for me, it's just going back on the Winter X things. Is like I just hope that they see this as more of an isolated incident. Yes, if there are ways to go ahead to fix something so that doesn't happen always, or on a less consistent basis, or maybe not at all, go ahead and try to do that. But at the same time, don't do it in such a manner that's going to go ahead and sully the sport itself.
Very true.
Yeah. Which is, like I said, we're seeing that right now with the NFL. But, what could you do?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how all that irons out with all these new rules. And kind of just to wrap up kind of some of this. Actually, you know what? We're going to get into some more stuff about WWE after this. I just wanted to bring up my torn to shreds bracket. Oh, my God. This tourney, first of all, fuck you, Harvard. Fuck you, who was it, Wichita State. Fuck you, LaSalle. And who was the other one who really screwed me? Oh, Florida Gulf beating Georgetown.
See, so for a guy that usually loves Florida sports, I'm a little disappointed in you that you didn't at least got Florida Gulf going past the first round.
I mean, a 2 seed getting jacked by number 15 Florida Gulf. That's pretty sick. And honestly, I mean, this is something new for me being a Canes fan to actually have a horse in the race in this March Madness tournament because, we're normally crawling into the NIT or, we're not exactly setting the world on fire in our basketball athletics. But I'm so happy to see that we start to swing the other way as far as our basketball program goes. And there's a lot of guys like Digger Phelps who are calling for the Canes to actually have a shot at winning this thing. They beat, Pacific something. They were a 15 seed. We beat them. We're playing Illinois next. And
they shouldn't sleep on Illinois, honestly. But
yeah, they shouldn't sleep on them. But you know what? I'm curious to see how that pans out because I'm just happy that we have like a horse in the race And normally we don't have that for Miami fans. So I think that's cool. And it's really wide open. If you even talk to, the experts and people who do this for, a living, it's really wide open. Anything could happen. There's not like that team like Kentucky from last year who just was like, they're probably just going to win it. Anything could happen. So I think that if there's a year, and honestly, we have a ton of seniors and juniors on this team, lots of seniors. So if we are going to have a shot in the immediate future, this might be it for the time being until we can get some more recruits in there.
The only thing I was disappointed about how they kind of set up the whole bracket, though, is like I was hoping that maybe at some point Miami and Indiana can make it in the final, but that's not how the bracket is at the moment. Where they're stuck in the same region, so the best that they can meet up, at the Final Four or the Final Eight?
We could meet up in the Elite Eight.
Elite Eight.
That's the last time that we can meet up.
It's like I'd rather see them in the final because Indiana was the consensus number 1 for the longest, and Miami is a great surprise team because not a lot of people expected them to make it this far, but I think they made enough noise.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that I was hoping that, it could lead up to that being the final instead of, just being at the end of that bracket. But
what would be sexy? All right, Florida, they're not going to have to play Georgetown, which I had them losing to Georgetown, albeit Florida Gulf Coast, beat them, so maybe they weren't as good as I thought. But Florida, they have to beat Minnesota, and then whoever the winner of San Diego State and Florida Gulf, whoever the winner of that game is, Florida could potentially beat Minnesota, then Florida Gulf or San Diego State.
I think they can beat Minnesota.
They'll
too.
have a shot against Kansas, who, unless they get taken off, they'll most likely be there in that Elite Eight. Imagine if Miami beat Indiana and Florida beat Kansas in the Elite Eight, and we met up in the Final Four.
That'd be nice.
Oh my God, Miami versus Florida. That's kind of like a wet dream of mine. It's probably not going to happen. I'm just saying that would be really tight.
Yeah, I mean, even if they do pass Minnesota and San Diego State gets by Florida Gulf Coast, which I think they should, I don't think anybody should ever sleep on San Diego State.
No.
Especially if you've been watching for the past few years, that team has always surprised people. So don't ever sleep on San Diego State. Those Aztecs will light some people up.
I fought with that one for a while when I was doing this bracket, San Diego State versus Georgetown, who I thought was
actually, now that I see it set up, I mean, I can actually see San Diego State going pretty far, actually. I don't see them going past Kansas or Michigan, but I could definitely see them beating Florida. And as much as I want Florida Gulf Coast to keep going, I don't think they're going to on that one. But
yeah, well, I don't know. It's cool. I'm really kind of rooting for. I've always had a soft spot for Louisville. I'd like to see them get in there. I've got the way that I've got it set up here is Louisville, Ohio State, Miami, Kansas in the Final Four. I've got Miami beating Kansas, Ohio State beating Louisville, and then Miami beating Ohio State in the championship. Albeit this is kind of like a slightly homered
just slightly
bracket. But honestly, if you look at it,
Brian's Super Bowl prediction, Miami Dolphins versus Jacksonville Jaguars.
If you look at it from a perspective of not being a Canes fan, it's still very possible. That's all I'm trying to say. All right. Let's wrap up sports. I don't know. Vic is going to have to help out a lot with this. You guys,
that's right.
We're going to have certain segments in this show where we're going to want to teach each other about things. I don't know a lot about wrestling. I mean, I know the basics. Vic is the dude to talk to when it comes to this. I know that a lot of people aren't interested in it. This kind of goes along with the theme of our show, really, that just because it might not be something that you find immediately interesting, that it doesn't mean that we can't be open to other people, their interests, and what they find to be cool. I think that there's a lot of things that are cool about wrestling, but there are certain places where I disconnect, where other people may not. Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I mean, WrestleMania season is definitely coming up. WrestleMania 29, for anybody that doesn't know, is being held at the new MetLife Stadium in New York. They got a few matches confirmed, but I think the most notable ones right now are basically we got the Undertaker WrestleMania streak, which is 20-0, is on the line once again for a match that really nobody asked for. But you know what? I guess the WWE couldn't figure out what to do with CM Punk.
Yeah,
so
that's going to be a really, really good matchup.
Oh, to me, I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think, to me, the best matches at WrestleMania have always been the Undertaker matches. Like,
and CM Punk again is what? Who's
CM Punk is currently the best in the world.
My bad. So he's like the LeBron of wrestling.
I'm not gonna say the LeBron of wrestling, but he's definitely currently the best wrestler out. I've been trying to pick up a little bit in TNA. So for all you wrestling fans that want to go ahead,
which is a great name, by the way. I gotta just point that out.
Yeah, so for any wrestling fans out there that's trying to give me shit because I'm not hey, I'm getting up on it, all right? So it's going to give me some time. But so far for what I've seen.
Vic had some kid call him out at an event recently.
And it wasn't that event. It was at the basketball court. But
whatever. You got called out by a kid.
I got called out for it. So I'm catching up on that. Don't get me wrong. But, to me, CM Punk currently is the best wrestler in the world, and for him to be matched up with The Undertaker, I think is probably going to be the best match on the card. Yeah. Potentially, this is my opinion. Undertaker's streak has had, like I said, for the past 4 WrestleManias, to me, the best matches have been The Undertaker matches. The last 2 ones against Triple H and the 2 ones before that against Shawn Michaels, I think is going to be awesome. I think it's something to look forward to. They got their best wrestler teamed up with one of the best wrestlers of WrestleMania.
And how is the hype for the match itself?
Oh, the match, it's great.
Feeling behind it.
It's great. I think rest in peace to Paul Bearer. He just died recently.
Paul Bearer.
Paul Bearer, son. You know,
he
remember
was
Paul
the Undertaker's manager.
Is this the dude? Oh, I've heard the name before. Which is
He's the guy. He was the little short guy they used to carry around the urn, and he would always.
So he's like Paul Bearer. He's playing on the name like he's a Paul Bearer. Okay.
Yeah, it was just like it was always great. Rest in peace to him. But it was actually kind of great. They've been implementing a little bit of that into it. They have CM Punk stealing the urn from Undertaker and Kane. Kind of messing around with it, talking nonsense about it. And it's great because they're letting CM Punk do what he does well, and that's talk.
That's where I can connect with wrestling, and something we were talking about the other day that I appreciate. Performers and people who are really into entertaining people and actually put you put yourself in that situation with a lot of people looking at you to be able to thrive and be in that performing type and mindset. Not everybody can get there and do it well when they do get there. So that aspect of wrestling I really dig, and I do kind of these guys are really smart when it comes to creating these personas for themselves.
Absolutely.
And not all of them, but
some of them are better than others.
Some of these dudes. And that is where I can connect with it, on that type of level with you guys. That these dudes are, if you keep it in that type of perspective, they are performers. They are trying to entertain you. If you're looking at it like it's a real MMA match or something like that, and you're looking for that intense, that might be the wrong approach. Whereas,
wrestling is a bit more. It's more all-encompassing. It has to strike a balance. The difference between MMA is it's mostly about. Isn't usually a lot of story between the two competitors in MMA or boxing. The only story between them is the promo created by the other guys, and it's not really an actual story. Wrestling is different in the sense that it actually creates a persona for the person that you are watching wrestle. And you kind of watch that persona, you watch that Titan duke it out with another Titan.
And be put in certain situations, and they add a whole bunch of soap opera-esque qualities to it. They build storylines, and then that's the thing about wrestling. It's just exactly what he said. It's an all-encompassing thing where it's not just one aspect of it. It's not just the actual physical stuff that's going on inside the ring. It's the build up to the characters. It's how these characters are put in certain situations.
How do they interact with the audience? How do they interact with the arena? How do they interact with the people backstage?
Exactly. And it's not just a whole scripted thing. There's a lot of improvisation and things of that nature. So, I mean, for those that don't get that aspect of it, well, then it's not for you. Go ahead and watch MMA, whatever. So,
which honestly is what I normally end up doing. I'm curious to see, like you guys said, there's a new pay-per-view. Which I haven't seen a wrestling pay-per-view in
WrestleMania
over
is
a
the one.
decade.
Well, WrestleMania is the one coming up. So
yeah, so maybe I need to, I'll give it a shot and see what's up with that.
I will build you up for it, but basically just going back to everything else, back to the WrestleMania. Like I said, that's one of the matches. Undertaker's streak is on the line. Another great match that a few people are looking forward to is the return of Brock Lesnar and Triple H.
Oh, I
didn't know Brock because I've seen him in MMA. He's going back to wrestling now.
Oh, dude, he's been back with wrestling, and he's honestly, dude, didn't
he have some really bad kidney infection or it was a disease?
He had some sort of intestinal disease, which actually kept him out of MMA. MMA.
Too much venison.
Whatever it is, freaking like. Whatever it is, I mean, unfortunately for him, he ruined his MMA career. Just kind of sidelined it. Yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah, because he was out for so long. I think he was champion before that.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was champion before that happened. And the whole him trying to treat it, left either the title vacated or something like that. But,
no, I know that he got beat by what's his name?
Yeah, and that was like after the fact that after the treatments of the thing. I heard his
Jeff, do me a favor, just look up who beat Brock Lesnar. There was this guy, the last MMA guy.
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately for him, that got kind of siderolled from him doing any competitive fighting. So I guess he went back and forth on whether he should go back to wrestling or try something else. And honestly, him going back to wrestling, being reunited with Paul Heyman was actually a pretty good thing. I think without Paul Heyman, this would have been failed.
Nice.
Yes, out there, Overeem.
8 out of 9. Sorry.
Let's hand Vic Jeff the mic for a second.
This guy, Alistair Overeem, defeats Brock Lesnar in 8 punches out of 9 thrown. That shit is ridiculous.
Well, yeah,
dude,
exactly.
If you put what's his first name again? Overeem. Alistair Overeem. Look this guy up on Google. This motherfucker looks like he was built. He looks like a cyborg. He looks like a cyborg that was built in a lab, and he tore up Brock Lesnar. The problem with Brock Lesnar was always going to be that he was a big dude and he's slow, and eventually somebody.
Oh no, he's not that slow. He's not that slow, bro.
Dude,
no.
In the MMA.
In the MMA world,
in the
MMA world before he got messed up by the disease, he is not that slow at all.
I don't know, dude.
No, I know. Trust me, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen his matches, bro. That guy is not slow whatsoever. Bro.
Maybe slow isn't the right word.
No,
but I'll tell you what. If you look at this Overeem, bro,
he plays to his strengths and uses his size as his main advantage. That's what it is. So he doesn't really need to be quick because he can take a lot of blows. And if he catches you with the right hand, you're dead. You're done.
Well, dude, look at like the way that Ali beat Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, dude. All you gotta do is, let them wear themselves out for a couple rounds. Try to, but if you can withstand the hits,
going back on
Ali was a beast.
Yeah, I mean, going back on it as beastly as Brock Lesnar was, and he came back to wrestling, teamed up with Paul Heyman, which brought him a lot of success early in his career, and they're building up this whole storyline where Brock Lesnar's taking over the WWE. Like, his brand is what matters more than the WWE itself. So that's what spawned off rivalries with him and John Cena and Triple H. Yeah, Triple H in the storyline, Brock Lesnar broke Triple H's arm, which left Triple H destroyed mentally, physically, all that good stuff, and left him out of the limelight for a little bit. Now Brock Lesnar's trying to come back, trying to wreak more havoc on the WWE, which brings Triple H back out nice and 100%, being like, you know what? No, I'm coming back and I'm whooping that ass, son. So we got that going forward for us, and we also got the championship matches also, which I don't know what the WWE is doing recently. I don't know. I mean, I guess watching from that CM Punk documentary, I got a little bit of insight from it. They kept saying the wrestler's bigger than the title, which I fully disagree with. I think they kind of forced that on us. But anyways, I'm always going to focus on the title. And the World Heavyweight Championship match is Jack Swagger, who won the Royal Rumble. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. He didn't win the Royal Rumble.
Swagger?
Yes, Jack Swagger. He didn't win the Royal Rumble, and I apologize. He won the Elimination Chamber to be the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, and he's going off against Alberto Del Rio. Jack Swagger's starting to build a little bit of momentum character-wise because he's teamed up with this older wrestling figure. They call him Zeb Coulter now. He had a few other names before. And they're playing on this whole thing where they're basically like the Tea Party of wrestling, which I find it pretty interesting. Oh, yeah, there's... Yeah, it's actually pretty. It's actually kind of cool because it's actually generating some little
Tea Party wrestling. That sounds like a nightmare, dude.
Yeah. Well, anyways, freaking, there they go. The current champion is Alberto Del Rio. They called him the Mexican aristocrat, and he's the current champion. So they're driving off this whole thing that Zeb Coulter, is saying, oh, fuck immigrants and all that other shit. They're taking all their jobs and all that. They got Jack Swagger saying we the people all the time. It's actually pretty cool, like the segments that they've been going on. I mean, people can criticize it or whatever, but it's bringing in a lot of noise. It's bringing a lot of attention. It's, for the most part, I think doing what it ultimately needs, and that's to bring, generate publicity and an audience for WrestleMania coming up. So, whatever your opinion is on that storyline, I think it's doing a good job of what it's supposed to do. So you got the whole we the people, Tea Party supporter, Jack Swagger supposedly representing America versus the Mexican aristocrat, World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio. I think it's an interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. Hopefully, it's better in ring than it is so far building up to it. But Hey, that'll come when that'll come. And also, we got the WWE title, the main event, as I call it, twice in a lifetime, because they were dumb enough to call it once in a lifetime the first time around.
I don't know what that means.
Exactly. Well, if you let me finish. It's going to be John Cena versus The Rock, again, headlining WWE, except this time it's for the WWE title, which The Rock currently holds. I'm rooting for John Cena because, yeah, eat a dick yourself. And it's like, I just got this whole thing. Like, I completely back up everything John Cena is saying. I can't respect a part-time wrestler, a part-time champion. This man hasn't even built up anything on a Raw yet. Like no.
The Rock is from the U, dog.
Yeah, The Rock is from the U. Vote. Yeah, fuck that shit. If he puts on a football uniform, okay, I'll root for him then. But I'm sorry, we talk about wrestling, and as a wrestling purist, yeah, fuck The Rock at the moment. He can go off and do movies. I don't like this whole fact that he's coming in, winning the championship and barely appearing on any television, building up for the WrestleMania event. It's all John Cena. And just like John Cena said last year, this guy goes off, claim he was going to be back with the WWE. And what does he do? He disappears again. When he comes back, he only comes back sporadically. Those kind of build up the match for last year's WrestleMania. It was a great match. The crowd was into it. But it's still bullshit that The Rock wins. And if it's all to build up to this WrestleMania, okay, whatever. But again, it's the same thing again. He barely shows up and announced, I think it was the 1000th Raw episode where he comes up and he's like, I'm a fight for the WWE title at Royal Rumble, which was a pay-per-view that was like 6 months away. And then we never see him again. And then in the month coming up to Royal Rumble, he barely shows up, says a few things with CM Punk, but I don't think it was that great of a build-up, which I think is a travesty considering the two mic skills of both wrestlers. We go on. Rock wins the title at Royal Rumble, beats CM Punk, ends his long, historic streak of holding the title. And now John Cena enters the Royal Rumble, wins the Royal Rumble. Now he's the number one contender for the WWE title, and that's who they're facing each other. And now the build-up to it at first was great. The first time they got to each other's faces, it was awesome because they had John Cena going like, oh, you beat me, but now I'm hungry and I'm going to whip your ass this time. And they got The Rock saying, look, you think you could whip my ass? I know I can whip your ass. They had a nice little going back and forth. But then for this past Raw, The Rock is not around. I heard that he's probably not going to show up for the next Raw. WrestleMania is in a few weeks away, and he's not doing anything to help build this up at all. And this is the guy that you wanted to put the championship on for like a little bit, continue to be the main event guy when he's hardly ever around, when you got a bunch of people in the locker room busting their butts for that opportunity, and they don't get it. CM Punk should have been headlining the past two WrestleManias, in my opinion, and he doesn't. Like last year, he had the title, and he wasn't headlining it. The headline was The Rock versus CM Punk.
We'll give you that.
I mean, John Cena, but yeah.
It's the Brahma Bull.
It's the Brahma Bull, but it's not the same Brahma Bull. It's not the same Brahma.
It doesn't matter if it's not the same Brahma Bull.
Oh, it matters, son.
It doesn't matter.
It matters, son.
Because he still brings the same electrifying match, and his name alone will bring people to the match.
But see, that's where I disagree, though, because, like, yeah, the fans are always going to be into it just because he's there. I get that aspect of it. But, I mean, if I was truly to break down that WrestleMania match last year, it was truly the fans that made that match. Yeah, the Rock had a bit of ring rust, but guess what? If he was actually showing up on a consistent basis, he wouldn't have that ring rust. And I have a feeling that it's going to be the same exact thing.
Ring rust. That sounds like some STD.
Yeah, you would. But anyways, it's
That's
just
horrible.
one of those things. It's just like The Rock didn't look all that great at the Royal Rumble match either. So he's going to freaking go into the WrestleMania match. And it's just like another thing. It's like he's probably going to have a mediocre match between two great wrestlers. Only because one isn't giving it the attention that it needed to have.
The only thing that I see, the downside that I see of that is that it sort of cheapens it for the fans when it happens like that. But still, I still think they put on a good match. I mean,
I hope so.
The Rock always fucking, he's amazing to watch, man.
Right.
He lights up the rings. I mean,
That's something I could say as somebody who doesn't know. And if for listeners who don't know what the fuck's going on right now, I'm right there with you. But something that I will say to go along with what you guys are talking about, The Rock, dude, I mean, that's one dude to me, like somebody who doesn't pay much attention to it, the presence of that guy on the ring, man, it's unreal. I don't know. Does anybody compete with that?
In the past, I say no. But this is the thing, though. I think we're all giving each other the image of the old Rock, the old Braun. As I say, this is not
that's
that
the
same
only
Rock.
one that I know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that's the only one that a lot of people know. If they haven't been paying attention to wrestling recently, they can see this is not the Rock. This is some washed up version, constantly smiling and catering to the fans. I mean, the Rock back in the day, the Brahma Bull, he was the kind of person that would be like, when the fans cheered with the Rock would slap him in the face and be like, this isn't sing along with the Rock. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, this motherfucking Rock wants to have a sing along, son. Like, and I'm not a big fan of this Rock because he doesn't have that cockiness and bravado, and it only really comes out in spurts. When John Cena gets serious and in the face of the Rock is when the Rock kind of brings it out a little bit. But like I said, if you watch the build up to last year's WrestleMania, if you're a wrestling purist, there is no way that you cannot sign for John Cena based on all the things that he called out The Rock for. So that's why, for me, I'm going to go again with John Cena, which to me, he will win the title because, like I said, The Rock has to disappear and do more movies anyways. So
John Cena versus The Rock.
You know, WrestleMania, it's coming up in a few weeks. When I have the date for it, I'll definitely let you guys know, and we're going to keep building that up as long as more matches get confirmed. And so far, that's all I got wrapped up for the WrestleMania aspect of it. TNA, I'm sorry, but Slammiversary, I will get to you guys later.
That's the thing. Also, an idea that we got for what we're going to put on the website, and maybe bump out a couple of shorter podcasts, like, you know, that are more as actually focused on some of this stuff, like the wrestling and everything. I want to keep it up on this podcast as well, you know. But we're going to have all kinds of information that we're going to be feeding you guys on the website, on the Twitter, on the Facebook, and all that good stuff. Rico, you had this idea, or no, it wasn't an idea. It was basically you were talking about this documentary with Keanu Reeves. It was basically about the difference between film and digital. I know that you wanted to talk about that a little bit. I just want to get that out there before we start running out of time.
Yeah, it's a pretty good documentary on Netflix. It's called Side by Side. Basically, Keanu Reeves, over the course of, it looks like a year because his appearance changes like 7 times throughout the documentary. But he basically just goes through and speaks to a bunch of filmmakers and cinematographers and directors and talks to them about the transition between film and digital, you know? Because
how is he, like, as a person? I'd be interested in seeing just how he, like, asks people questions and interviews them.
Really, really smart, apparently. Yeah, he cares a lot. It's obvious how much he cares, but based on how he talks about it, you can see. But it's very good, man. It goes very in depth, and he not only defines what, you know, film is and how it's created and how it is viewed by the people who use it, but he then goes to the people and speaks about the transition. How do you feel about the transition? What did you do during, you know what I mean, not only the technical aspects, how did you adjust with not having to do dailies anymore? Because previously when you're making a film and you're developing via film, it takes time to develop that film. So it's a 24-hour turnaround before when you used to film things, and now digital has completely changed that. That's not there anymore. However, you know, digital does not capture the same amount of information that film would. So there's really a lot of it was very, very interesting because they talk about, you know, the relationship between technology and art, which is you can't really you can't separate the two. It's like impossible to separate the two because, you know, music is art, and without the technology of a mic, that would be extremely limited. So
without autotune, we would never had Justin Bieber.
How did people used to listen to music 100 years ago? You either had to go to the theater or see somebody on the street or be in a house with somebody who knew actually how to play.
And you see the same sort of interesting bias, you know, people who've been using it for a very long time are like, no, film is the best. Digital, it's inferior. You have to adjust it afterwards. We'd never do it, blah, 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 blah. But you have to look at it, man. Things change, things adapt, and I don't really subscribe to that mentality of let's keep things the way it were simply because that's how it was. If there isn't a good reason to keep things the way it was, then why not adapt to the future? You know what I mean? Adapt and overcome.
I mean, in defense of the whole film digital argument, I'm a film major myself, and one of the first things that they actually do teach about between the difference between film and digital, it is the standard. Film is the standard because it captures everything.
The light, right?
Yeah, it captures everything. It captures everything. And the problem with digital is it's capturing information.
Precisely.
It's so the the transfer could be manipulated in certain ways that could sully what it is that you're trying to get out of when you film in digital. When you're filming and when you're doing it in film, you get everything that you capture. Everything is there. The light, whatever that goes into it, it all fits into it.
But to bring up a point from George Lucas, you know, we've been using film for 100 years. We're at the inception of digital. So yes, it may not have all the advantages of film simply because we haven't explored it for as long.
That
so
doesn't mean the effort doesn't need to be put into
that's
develop
the reason
that.
why the effort would need to be not even just to be put into development, but to be put into use. Because if we don't use something, we can't know the faults of it, and if we don't know the faults of something, you can't improve it. So we need to. I think the transition from film should be encouraged, because the more people use it, the better we can see how it's applied, you know what I mean, or applied in different ways. And it's really, really amazing when you take one thing and distribute it to a bunch of people and see the amazing different ways that other people use it, in which you would have never even conceived of, even though you're the one who invented that product.
No, I mean, that's definitely true, but I mean, when you got the one up and coming thing that is still not even up to standard, though, then it starts becoming the question of, all right, so why should we choose digital film as the standard then? Oh, if not only just to see the faults or anything like that. Like, what are the true benefits of actually filming in digital instead of filming, doing it in film, if it's not only, experimental and seeing which is, how far can we take it with digital,
Well, with digital and film right now, they really shouldn't be compared against each other. They should really be looked at as one has certain strengths and one has certain weaknesses that the others that don't overlap in between them. So you can use one for certain things and one for others, Yeah. So it's not like using film completely. I wouldn't say that you should just abandon film completely, and I wouldn't say that you shouldn't just use only digital. I think you should use whichever one you need the most for the situation in which it applies. And a lot of people don't really view it that way. They have sort of like the polarized way of looking at things, where it's either film or nothing,
right,
or it's digital and
which it shouldn't be that way either. So no.
That is a very limited way of looking at it.
No, right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I guess for the most part, you got to figure out what it is that you want out of something, and based on what it is,
Absolutely.
You go in that general direction, which is with anything else, But
variety is the spice of life. Do you think that some people are going to want to make sure that we keep both around and pursue them in different areas?
Well, that might be a little difficult because they no longer make, is it film or the film equipment? It's like film equipment. I think it's film equipment. Yeah,
we're definitely sliding over to digital in a really big way, right?
They've already switched over to like cameras and recording devices that are made now are now being made exclusively digitally. So they sort of are, in a way, throwing away the film aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole film aspect of it is also really inconvenient, though. I mean, even though it is the best and it is the standard, it is a very inconvenient process.
Like washing the dishes without a dishwasher.
No, it's not even all that. It's just it's very tricky. Like, I remember the first time they made us try to insert film in this old camera that looked like they were using it to film like the Vietnam War or something, and it was ridiculous because you had to have the film. The film could not be exposed to any sort of light at all. So in order to get the film into the cartridge is this whole blind process that you have to do through a bag.
Wow.
You're like, no, I'm serious. It's like there's this huge bag with like arm sleeves, and you have to freaking take out the film the film roll itself, put it into the cartridge, and you got to freaking assemble that whole thing properly. Like I said, within this bag, you can barely see anything. Like I said, because it can't be exposed to light.
Film absorbs light.
Yeah, it can't be exposed to light in that process because you're going to mess up the film. You're not going to be able to film anything on it. And it's a really inconvenient process. And I could just imagine digital being that route of makes things so much easier. But there it goes again. Like, you have to understand what it is that you're doing with digital to get the desired effect. Otherwise, you're going to be very frustrated in the rendering, editing process, and all that other crap.
But I think what we find, we have lots of pioneers out there that are doing really, really, really amazing work, and also they're constantly refining the digital technology. And we have the new digital red camera now. That's a lot of which now films in like which now films
you're looking at the thing.
Yeah, it's like low battery and shit. But it films even a much bigger not aspect ratio, but in HD than regular film. And even the initial, when digital first came out, it was only what like 1080. Now it's up to like 2040, I believe. It's up way higher. So
yeah, that's off the red camera.
Yes.
Oh shit.
The new Reds. It's amazing. So you can't really look at the baseline of new technology, man. You have to look at its potential, because that's really where it is, because it's only going to get better based on the way you use it, based on the way you develop it. And digital right now, it's big. I mean, what won the Academy Award? Life of Pi for cinematography, and like half of that is done digitally. And it's ridiculous that, you know, something like that, it's like taking over. It's literally the transition. Like, it's our next step into film. And we have entire companies that does this, like, dying, even though the movies they make is winning, like, massive amounts of awards. And that's absurd in and of the least. It doesn't really make any sense. But I think digital, it's very awesome. And the things that it allows us to do, like, for a really good example is 300. For someone like me who's a comic book fan, Sin City, digital is the way to recreate things from one medium onto film in a ways that really captures that the essence of the storytelling in it. You know what I mean? Even though it's in a completely different format and visually, Sin City has that really awesome, like, standout color against the black and white.
So cool.
And what is it? 300 has a really awesome. It actually looks like the panels of the comic book. That iconic scene where they're pushing all the soldiers over the cliff in the silhouette, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, you can't really do that with film.
You want as many creative people to get their hands on these tools as possible, so these things are possible. Like, I mean, you know, we might not have a 300, or what's the guy, the artist, or I think that he was actually the director. Zack Snyder
is the director
of Sin City.
No,
that was
Robert
Rodriguez, dudes like him and Quentin Tarantino and some of these dudes that have super creative ideas and the way to express themselves within the film itself.
Actually, Tarantino is one of those film advocates. He's like, film or nothing. So.
Absolutely.
Dude, that makes sense. I mean, he's like that whole...
Django looked fucking beautiful, dude.
Dude, I love that movie, man.
I could tell that it was done on film as opposed to digital. Digital has a sort of like unreal crispness to it. That it's like,
where everything looks like a soap opera?
Kind of. It's like, it looks slightly artificial, and there's something about the vibrance of the colors in Django that's just like...
because they
gritty feel.
Well, yeah, because they're taking natural scenes. Like, I remember some like that whole montage they have when they're traveling up and down collecting bounties, and there was like some of the most beautiful scenery that you could see that was shot. I mean, that is what nature's supposed to look like.
Yes.
When you go out and look at it. So therefore, the way he captured it with film, exactly, it looks amazing. And then you try to do that with digital, and it kind of looks like, you know, the set built, you know, for like a sci-fi
and you're
movie.
gonna have to do a ton of post-production work to get those colors right.
Exactly. It's just so much that goes into that. But I mean,
those are the things that set it apart. Like, from everything else, though, I mean, we have storylines that are similar. You can have similar storylines, similar characters, but it's all those little things, the little tiny things that make it so different. Like, we were talking the other day about the difference between athletes and how it's like their characteristics and personalities make them different from others.
About the guy's face who you hate.
What did you say?
You hate that guy's face.
Oh,
you're like,
Paul
like,
Pierce,
cool,
dude, that guy. Somebody
face.
needs to get him a lobotomy and a straight razor.
Brian has this unwavering hate for Paul Pierce, and the only excuse that he
I'm
could
gonna
give us
shoot up a
is his
3,
face.
and I'm gonna start jogging away as if it's going in. But as soon as it bounces off the rim, I'm going to reach for my leg and pretend like I hurt myself because I'm a bitch who doesn't know how to shave himself correctly.
Which happened 2 days ago, and is the only other thing that Brian could bring up other than his face. So,
dude, I mean, we could talk about his face.
We should say it. I know you can go off on a tangent on his face, but back to the film thing.
Not to go off
back
of
to
that.
the film
That's what I was saying. Is that's what makes it like I love that about Tarantino films, that he has a way of really dragging you into the scene and making it feel real. And I think that kind of speaks to what you're talking about. Maybe that is a good argument for film or whatever. I don't know enough about it to, like he was saying, Vic, you guys definitely know more about the lighting and everything like that. I know that there's a huge difference, But I think that if that's what you guys are speaking about, and if I'm understanding it correctly, those little things that the film picks up on, I can understand why filmmakers would be very hesitant to give that up because they realize the value in that. That's what differentiates you from the other.
It's not just that. I think it has a lot to do with simply being comfortable with what you're using. I mean, look at how long it takes a lot of people to transition to computers. Oh, I don't want that box in my room, and I'm fine. I don't need to be connected to the internet. It's like people are naturally, well, not all the time, but people are somewhat naturally resistant to change, man. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm already doing this. It works for me. It's just comfortable. Why do I have to do that? I don't know anything about that. You know what I mean? That's terrifying to me. I like doing what I know. I'm good at it. I can produce amazing work. That other shit, fuck it. I want nothing to do with it.
Now going back to the documentary itself, like, was there anything else that he touched upon other than just the film versus digital aspects of it all, or
not really? The documentary really soars in the sense that it really gives you a lot of perspective into the minds of a lot of the filmmakers. That's really where the documentary kind of excels. In the first maybe 5-10 minutes of like the hour and a half documentary, he talks about the film process, but the entire rest of the documentary is interviews with filmmakers about the two. He had a really good section with George Lucas, and when he basically pretty much denounced film, and he's like, yo, I'm going all digital, and a lot of people like hated him for that. So people still do. So, you know what I mean? So most of the documentary just comes from the interview. That's where the value of it really stems from. You learn a lot about from the inside of those filmmakers.
Well, that's cool, man. I want to watch that because I can appreciate that view. You know, we find ourselves in that like predicament a lot in life where we see, you know, it's like how do you outweigh the pros and cons of two different things and find like, you know, a median where you can operate. And just because, you know, like you said, there needs to be the people who are pushing boundaries and trying new things and using them, while also, you know, the purists who kind of maintain the, you know, what we do know and all that's good about that.
Does it go into anything like in the, like say anything other than just the actual filming process itself? Like you touched upon that they discuss, you know, all the process that it goes through, like probably what post-production and things like that. Like you said, that's.
Yeah. And, they talked about a lot of the unset stuff as well, you know, like, dealing with actors, stuff like that, but it's mostly opinions.
Yeah.
It's mostly opinions from very, very opinionated people.
But
well, that's cool. Does it leave it? I mean, it doesn't necessarily give you a answer at the end of the document. That's cool. I like that.
It's more of a documentary.
You can decide for yourself.
A documenting of several different perspectives about a specific topic.
Oh, cool shit.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's good shit. But it's crazy, man. Like Rhythm and Hughes also worked on Digital Domain worked on Django Unchained, and they're bankrupt. X-Men First Class, they're working on X-Men First Class, The Hunger Games, Snow White and the Huntsman. I mean, I don't know.
All the visual effects companies that are going out of business and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. I mean, I like special effects. I want Avengers 2.
Oh man.
Well,
Disney, I'm sure they're not going to lose their.
That's a good point. Yeah, I forgot about that. They have an awesome parent company. They're straight.
Pixar.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, I know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I like that we're bringing different perspectives to the table here and where people can decide for themselves. I know that something that we're going to plan on doing every week is one of us is going to pretty much tell you something that we're thinking about, something specific. Like I know that Vic has something prepared today. And that's what the essence of the podcast. Anything that has a heartbeat, we want to be open to people and their opinions. Just because we simply, you know, don't necessarily agree or we haven't heard an idea before, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't. What's the quote? Be able to entertain an idea without subscribing to it. Yep. And I think that that's very important. So Vic has something prepared for us today that he wanted to chat about.
Yeah, basically, what I just kind of wanted to touch upon is basically a little bit of my personal reasons of why I wanted to do this podcast. And just like we touched upon quite a bit is we really wanted to go ahead and bring about certain different perspectives on certain things. But I also hope that the ultimate goal of it isn't that it ends up creating this high horse for all of us, or we get a bit arrogant, or become elitist and think that whatever it is that we talk about or whatever it is that we believe becomes a standard for judging other people based off on that. And
good call.
Yeah, and and that's really one of those things that I really hope that we get from this, because which is one thing that we keep saying, if you guys can hit us back up with any opinions, questions, or anything like that, because that helps us in turn.
Mental
as well.
Reps Podcast at gmail.com.
There you go.
What's our Twitter?
Twitter
handle,
at
Jeffrey?
Mental Reps Show. Facebook, Mental Reps Podcast.
Because
get at us.
Because this is part of the whole, open perspective thing that we have going over here. We would like to hear from you all, not just have us spew out whatever it is that we care about or that we, think is interesting. That's the whole thing. We all get to be connected, and we all can open up each other's perspective, and we could have a better understanding of more things in this world.
Yeah, send us in questions. Send us in your opinion on things too.
Yeah, so basically, because a lot of problems that I have with a lot of people is because they think that just because they like something or they care about something, that makes it them either better or their opinions about certain things, more important than everybody else. And I think that's, kind of dumb.
Example. It's personal preference.
Exactly. For example, it's like I had a few friends that really, really love and praise the movie Idiocracy. It's directed and created by Mike Judd. If you know from King of the Hill or Beavis and Butthead, he created those as well.
Great movie.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people really do love that movie, and me personally, I'm not a fan of it, and not because of what it presents or anything like that. Me personally, as a movie, I just don't like it. I don't really find it all that funny. I get the social commentary about it, but to me, it doesn't really give us all we really get is a speech at the end by the Wilson brother, saying that we shouldn't be dumb or we should go back and not be dumb. I was just kind of really,
it's a silly movie.
It is. It's a satire. It's a parody. I get all that. You know what I'm saying. But the problem that I usually
don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. But the thing that I usually find with certain people is they take this movie and kind of sort of turn it into their own personal dogma for certain things. And I'm not saying this is with everybody, and I'm not saying this is, about certain people. But, just using this as an example, I could see people taking this and being like, yeah, we are getting dumber. We are going into that kind of society, So, fuck, social media, and Twitter, and internet, and all the things that, are going to lead us into this direction, and, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people would take that sentiment and start being insulting towards others that they feel like probably fall into that. That's dangerous. To me, that's really dangerous because you start excluding all the people that you supposedly claim to help and actually start becoming more of the caricature that Mike Judge actually makes fun of, and attempts to mock in the satire. Like I said, who are we going to help if we're constantly pushing our opinions on people and saying that this is exactly, this is fact, or this should be followed this way because look what could happen. I find it very to me, I find him that more insulting than anything else, because it's like, I get it, this is a satire of what potentially could happen if things go in the general direction that it does. But it doesn't necessarily give you the avenue to be condescending, be on a high horse and be like, well, because I like this movie and I can go ahead and relate to this movie in these sort of ways, I'm more in tune, or I'm smarter than most of the people that they're people. No, you're falling into the trap. You're becoming the joke in reality, because what are you actually doing to actually help out people and prevent them from going into that general direction? Other than what? Posting shit on a message board, calling out, trolling in other avenues, like say Facebook, Twitter, or whatever. And what are you actually bringing to the table to go ahead and prevent that from happening?
And how do you find a healthy balance between sharing information and not trying to come off as, like you said, like some elitist, I'm smarter than everybody else, but be able to share information and not be like, okay, you have to read this. If you disagree with it, then screw you. You're an idiot.
Exactly.
But be able to try and maintain some type of balance. I
mean, as all of us, all of us here to a certain degree, we're hip hop fans, but I'm pretty confident that as from our personal standards of hip hop, we are not Lil Wayne fans, and we probably wouldn't see Lil Wayne as great of a rapper as he does.
No.
Now, does that make our? Does that But does that make our opinions on Lil Wayne that much more valid than somebody else's opinions. Like, what if somebody actually came up to us and gave us a whole list of things of why he should be considered the greatest?
Real G's movie sounds like lasagna.
Exactly, son.
Case closed.
Shit, I don't hear no rappers saying that shit. So that shit was pretty clever.
What'd you say, dog? Repeat that.
Real G's move in silence like lasagna. No matter
Real
what
G's
you say
move
about
in silence like lasagna.
Exactly. Yes.
Damn.
No matter what you say about Lil
That's
Wayne,
powerful
I'm
shit.
not really like that big Lil Wayne fan. I know like 5 of his songs, but when I heard that, I was like, that is so fucking clever. That is really, really clever. I like
tell
that.
you about my dip, but that should be a long
Because,
story.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, you know what I'm saying? There's certain aspects of it, like, you know, he actually does some things well. You know, it may not be to up our standards, but does that mean that all of a sudden, you know, he is automatically shit because we think he's shit? No, there's a bunch of people that are going to try to go out of their way. So he says why they think he's the greatest rapper. And their opinion should not be sullied. Now, if you could agree with them, disagree with them, that is all up to you. But you can't be like, just because you have that disagreement doesn't make you or better or worse for having that opinion.
I think on a personal level, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, I do believe there is a certain amount of truth to the adage that if you don't believe in anything, that you'll fall for anything. That you got to have some, like, I mean, as far as your own personal approach to it, like, I totally appreciate and agree with what you're saying. Like, does that mean that we should be completely fluff and have no opinion on things or anything like that? Absolutely not. It just means to be open to other people, their experience, their, you know, perspective.
What's great about individuals is everybody can have their own, you know, convictions. Everyone can have their own priorities set for themselves, you know, and standards. That's awesome.
We're all different.
You know, exactly. You know, we should build standards for each other, and if we want, you know, society or, you know, even just the people around us to be better, you know, to lead by example and, you know, to be able to share these ideas without being so condescending, you know, and I have trouble with people that are so condescending just based on, you know, superficial things such as this, you know what I mean? Like, they'll legitimately exclude people. And it goes back to what I was trying to ask. How are you helping?
Silly as that, man.
Yeah. It's like, who are you helping? And how are you making anyone better, you know, by reacting in these sort of ways? And I feel like we should go ahead and try, like I said, we can go ahead and hate on all the things that we want to hate. But understand that that doesn't give us the right to start judging people on that sort of thing. People are different for many reasons. Taste is subjective. Taste is relative. You know.
And there's a very high probability that if you're living in the United States and you're like engulfed in this culture, that you are affected in a very big way. Yeah. That's something that's really hard to look at yourself and be like, damn, am I dumb, dog? Am I stupid? Am I misled in certain things? Mm-hmm. You know, like, our culture is sick right now. There are certain things that can be viewed as good, bad, right, wrong, but does that necessarily, I mean, there's a lot of that flavor and that shit that we, you know, somebody, your own self as your perspective on it, you might not be thinking of something that somebody else could have some really in tune, like, insight into. And I love being able, that's something I love about this podcast, is that I can have an idea about something, Vic can have some very interesting insight or perspective on it, and that will completely unclog my whole thought process, and I'll be like, oh shit, since he said that, that makes everything else make a lot more sense to me, and you can keep going and building on that. I don't want to... No, sorry. I didn't want to hijack your shit, dog.
No. I mean, I was just basically going to wrap up saying something similar. It's just, you know, ultimately, the whole point of this podcast is to basically, you know, open up certain perspectives while at the same time hoping that our perspectives get a little bit opened up as well.
And refined,
you know, where we can have an avenue to share things, you know, help each other out in being informed. Because the more that we go ahead and try to build these high horses and, you know, continue to exclude people, we're actually going against what it is that we want to do, which is go ahead and try to inform everybody so that hopefully we all can finally be on the same page, you know. But the more that we continue to be condescending or exclude other people, be judgmental, I think is ultimately our downfall, and which is something that is all too common going on nowadays. And even to a certain degree, whether it's people we know, people we don't know, it's just something that I feel like it's going on too much.
And have a healthy perspective on change, and realize that it's not a giving up of one's morals or oneself, but it's actually a refining of oneself, making yourself better than you were the day before. I dig that. I smell what you're stepping in, dog.
Exactly, and that's just how I feel about that.
I like that. All right, good looks on Vic for bringing that up, and that's a really nice perspective, and thanks for bringing that up, Doug. All right, what was it that we're gonna try and we're doing? Are we really doing this freestyle?
Yeah.
All right, dude,
I'm down. Put that
this is
beat on.
gonna be horrible, and that's
let's-
what's gonna make it great. So we're going. Are we doing it line to line? What's happening with that?
I just say we just keep going until the awkward pauses.
All right, basically what we're talking about, we want to end the show with a quote of the week, and then we do what we call a freestyle fade out. Neither of us are rappers. Neither of us can rap. We're all terrible at it. But we want to do like a little freestyle fade out, and like Vic said, it looks like we're just gonna play the beat, and we're just gonna try to keep going until the awkward silence becomes prevalent.
This is a mental rep, son. This is our test.
This is
Our test of our improv skills and our.
This is us sitting back and trying to take in what we need to know so we can be better prepared for life itself.
Ain't it?
All right, I guess I'll start off by saying this quote, and this is something that normally every week we're not going to have a problem with sources. We're going to give you, exactly who this was, but this is a quote I read in an article that really it hit home with me, and it's not all-encompassing, but I appreciate the sentiment behind it, and this is it. Today, knowledge is ubiquitous, constantly changing, growing exponentially. Today, knowledge is free. It's like air. It's like water. It's become a commodity. There's no competitive advantage today in knowing more than the person next to you. The world doesn't care what you know. What the world cares about is what you can do with what you know.
Hell yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
It's awesome, man. The application of
I know
knowledge,
Jeff
man.
had like an opinion on that. If you want to toss him the mic, I don't know if he still wants to share it. About the quote.
Your opinion on the quote of the week.
And this is probably going to get edited out. But I just was reading the quote about how knowledge is ubiquitous. It doesn't care what the world doesn't care what you know. The world cares about what you can do with what you know.
Oh, absolutely. I think that while that is true to a certain extent, there's people that still hold the gates to knowledge. Like these gatekeepers of higher institutions and like higher knowledge, and like a lot of times those are roadblocks for people to attain like knowledge and do good with it. So
what you're saying is it's not just knowing what you know, but it is also there are people that are kind of holding us back from knowing certain things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the impression of knowledge. There's a really good TED Talk recently on Reddit talking about how it was actually banned from TED.
Rich people don't create jobs.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah,
yes.
definitely look that up.
What was it again? So we can tell them it was a TED Talk
it
on
was
what?
a banned TED Talk. They removed it from the TED listing. It was called The
Rich-
War on Consciousness. It was,
With Graham Hancock.
yeah, Graham Hancock.
Okay.
Fucking amazing.
Graham Hancock, if you guys don't know about this man, go check him out. Go Google and find out what he's all about. Very, very interesting
Definitely. And if you've enjoyed the podcast, please sponsor us. Let us get some proper equipment.
dude. Yeah.
we would
Yeah,
like to
that's
get some
something that
mics.
also, as we continue to roll on the podcast, we're not, and this is the thing, though, that I would like to be able to make a guarantee. We are not going to feed you guys a bunch of horse shit. We're not going to be coming on here sponsored, like I said, by Monsanto or some pharmaceutical company. Like, we're not going to be brought to you by Abilify this week or something. That's not going to happen. We're looking for, sponsors, products that we use, that we care about, and that we think are really cool as far as a forward movement and doing business the right way, not fucking people over just to make a buck. I think all that is really important in the general direction that I think it would only coincide with what we're trying to do here in the podcast. So we've got some potential sponsors lined up. This is obviously a crude, first podcast we have here, and it's going to get better. We appreciate you guys hanging in there with us while we iron out the kinks and shit.
It was a little rough around the edges. But
Yeah.
Hey, but you know what? Send us any feedback, whatever. Like I said, we'll take anything into consideration. Unless you're being a jerk. But but at the same time, we'll definitely listen to everything. We'll definitely take it into consideration, and then hopefully, in turn, it helps us make a better podcast. And
yeah, we want to talk about things that are important not only to us but to you guys. And if Michelle Obama's bangs are really important to you, we're probably not going to talk about that shit. But
I, for
things
one,
that are
like
actually
her bangs, so I don't know about you guys. Those
But
bangs are fire,
yeah,
son.
absolutely. So we're gonna and we want to be entertaining too. We want to be funny and just this is an environment, almost like a friendly environment where you can feel comfortable and share information. And we want to cultivate relationships, not just continue to do that with ourselves, but with you guys. And like Vic, just to keep on echoing the same sentiment. Get in touch with us. Share some cool article that you think or picture online that you saw. Current events, something that we should know about. We're also going to try to open
and close the show with a beat of the week. So if you feel like you have something you want to contribute,
nice.
You can hit us up on our Twitter page.
Thank you, Rico. Yes, do that.
You submitted some ill music. You can watch 3 guys pretend to freestyle over it.
Yeah, you got some shit on SoundCloud or something, a tight beat that you just worked up. Be like, yo, I wonder what it sound like. We got some dudes to rap on top of that shit right there. Send it our way. That's how we're going to end our podcast every week. Oh, shit. Vic was getting started, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we didn't even...
it has been a wonderful 2 hours.
It's been great, son.
Yeah, man.
This was an awesome first episode.
I want to say thank you to you guys. It's something that I've always wanted to do. It's something that it's hard to find the right dudes to do it with. But I think that we got a really tight little crew here. Something that we all can individually bring to the audience and share some cool perspective. And I'm really pumped. And this is just the first of many podcasts. And anything that you guys can do to get the word out and to support us, it's just going to mean the world to us, because that means that we can, keep doing this. And that's the idea. We want to keep doing this for a living. And this is how we want to. This is how we want to wield it, dog. All right, so. Drop that beat.
Jeffrey.
That's right. Yo, it's the Mental Reps podcast, son. Shout out Slick Vic. We got Rico up in here. We got Brian. We got Jeff up in the 1s and 2s. Let's do this, son.
Yeah.
Drop the beat. You know what I mean. You know it's me. Mr. BIC. I don't know if y'all catch to see what I see, but everybody.
Now it's my turn. I'm on the mic now, pretending I can flow, but I don't really know how. I'm trying to work these words. They're kicking my ass. I'm gonna keep going. I don't know how long I can last.
Oh shit, this is the way we do it. We in Jeff's room going through it. We know we ain't got shit figured out, but give us time, we gonna get it ironed out. Vic, I know you got something for me. Give me some perspective on LeBron James, homie.
LeBron James, the best player in the galaxy. Nigga, don't ask me, I'm telling you. Say it up, I don't give a damn about these niggas trying to fucking come up and what the hate, yo. 954 305.
Fuck the haters. This is derailing. Come on, brother, keep me going.
So we're coming on to the last verse. I'm gonna try to keep it going. I don't know if
Last purse.
Put all my money in my glass purse.
I find my financial Cinderella. Keep me going.
I still feel like this is better than most of Soulja Boy stuff. But.
All right, I think
we're wrapping up
fade out.
Mental Reps podcast.
Mental Reps podcast. We love you guys.